Hey, Scott Kennedy, ready to talk NFL draft again. And this is going to be a fun night because we talk a lot of Atlanta Falcons on this channel. I'm from Atlanta. I know the most about them. And we are going to talk with my friend Grant Cohn, who has covered the 49ers for a long time. He does all49ers.com on Sports Illustrated now and does a great YouTube channel. Just excellent insights. We're going to bring him in and talk about the 49ers. We're going to talk about the trade itself, what it costs to get up to the number 3 spot. And this is relevant to the Falcons and what they do to replace Matt Ryan eventually, who they might take, how this affects Atlanta at the number 4 spot. I want his thoughts on the trade, and I want his thoughts on who they think they might take and who he thinks they should take all along. So without further ado, let me bring in my friend, Grant Cohn, all49ers.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Grant Cohn. Grant, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Pumped to be on your show. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. Now, I've been watching you on Twitter a little bit, and you got a little reputation for being negative. You know, I'm an Atlanta sports guy. You grew up, you're maybe not old enough to grow up in the 49ers dynasty. I am. But if anybody's got reason to be salty and a cynic, it's me, for goodness sakes.
Yes.
So I'm watching you a little bit, talking about the quarterbacks, and I'm trying to get a feel for which one Grant wants. And I start thinking, you know what? He might just be pissed off the way I was about Thomas Dimitroff trading 5 picks for a wide receiver after giving up 50 points. And he doesn't want a quarterback in this spot because he didn't want to be in the spot at all. Am I wrong about this?
That's exactly how I feel. I mean, you could talk me into Mac Jones having a good career, but 3 first-round picks for Mac Jones or Justin Fields and his 600 pass attempts or Trey Lance and his 300 pass attempts, how much did you really see on the film that led you to believe that he was worth a third of a decade's worth of your first-round picks? I just don't see it. And that's why, I'm almost at the point where I feel like Kyle Pitts would be the best justification because at least he's going to be good. There's a significant possibility that any one of those quarterbacks is total fool's gold. But then, as you said, I mean, you just lived the last decade of Julio Jones, who lived up to the hype in every way but couldn't deliver.
Well, and he has delivered. So I've been critical of Thomas Dimitroff since basically that trade was made. And it has nothing to do with Julio Jones because Julio Jones, I think, is going to go down in history as the greatest Atlanta Falcon of all time. And you're talking to somebody that's been in Atlanta for 40 plus years and has watched it from the days of, I missed the Tommy Nobis era just before the 70s, but from Steve Barkowski on, I know all these guys. And Jesse Tuggle right now is my number 1 as far as Mr. Falcon. But Julio Jones could go down that way. So the evaluation was right. Okay, Julio Jones is a beast, but Thomas Dimitroff just watched his team give up 50 points in an NFL playoff game against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers as the number 1 seed at home. They didn't force him to punt. And what's his reaction? To go out and trade 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a third for a wide receiver? Unless this guy's Jerry Rice, and even then it's questionable. When I was in high school, I watched the 49ers hang 50 on the San Diego Chargers. Would you trade 5 picks to get Jerry Rice on the Chargers? Would that have made them better at that time? No, they needed defense, for goodness sake. So, however, I've been talking about this for a long time, and sorry to take up all your time. You're my guest.
No, go ahead. It's a good conversation.
I get a little fired up when we start talking trades and Julio Jones. You don't trade into the top 5 unless you're taking a quarterback. It hasn't happened in 10 years. Every trade into the top 5 has been a quarterback in the last 10 years. Who do you think the 49ers are going to take in that spot?
I'm not going to disagree with Adam Schefter. Adam Schefter isn't trying to make a name for himself, trying to get some clout on Twitter. No, he says it's going to be Mac Jones. Wow. So the way I look at it is it's going to be Mac Jones. Is a 99% chance. The only way it's not is if the Jets shock everyone and take Justin Fields, which is possible. I mean, a lot of people think Justin Fields is better than Zach Wilson. If that happens, right. And I don't think anyone really knows what the Jets are doing yet. So let's say the Jets shock everyone, take Justin Fields, and the Niners would take Zach Wilson. Otherwise, if it's Zach Wilson, I do think that the Jets take. Adam Schefter said it. They're going to take Mac Jones, and it's going to be seen as one of the most arrogant moves a team or a coach has made in the longest time. And Kyle's cool with that. And that's definitely Kyle. He is the most arrogant guy in the league, and He can back it up sometimes. We'll see what he can do.
I'd like to see more of this, honestly, Grant. When we talk about the arrogance, and I want to hit on some of these guys here. That we're getting some good comments, and I appreciate it. They've got lifetime money. As soon as you sign one contract, you've got money for life. So why are these guys so conservative about everything? Why are the coach speak nonsense? If you fire Shanahan tomorrow, he's banked 8 figures. They've got, I like to call it FU money.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's like I remember Will Muschamp was about to get fired from Florida. He's like, don't worry about me, man. I'm loaded. I got a hot wife. Things are good.
Yeah, he's not rich. He's wealthy. There's a difference.
Yeah. Shaq used to say, or I think Chris Rock. Somebody said about
Chris
Shaq,
Rock. Yes,
that old line said Shaq is rich. The guy that signs his check is wealthy.
Yes.
So this blows my mind, honestly, to have to say that it could be Mac Jones. I mean, I've been saying, and I've been writing a little bit. I went down and watched Mac Jones at the Senior Bowl. I love him. I really do. And we can get into a little bit why. I've watched quarterbacks for 20 years. I was director of scouting at scout.com. I've done NFL Network. I've done all these things. Yeah. I love Mac Jones, but not at 3.
Not for 3 first-round picks. How you can't win that trade.
When I was looking at him, I was thinking, okay, the Falcons are going to be in a spot where they need to trade down. This is a guy they could get in the teens. Yeah. This might be an option to sneak into the teens. He might sneak into the first round. So when I finally saw that, when Zach Wilson became a legit top 3 guy, because in my mind, Justin Fields already was. The minute his big game against Clemson sealed it for me.
Yep.
It's just that I was like, okay, now, and I've got some comments on here about the smokescreen from Raymond. The smokescreen needs to come out of Atlanta. If Atlanta wants to trade down, we said earlier, Grant, the top teams trading to the top 5 for the last 10 years have all taken a quarterback, all of them.
Yes.
So if the Falcons want to trade down, they have to start gassing up Mac Jones and Trey Lance because Fields, Lawrence, and Wilson are going to be gone. And here comes the 49ers. The Falcons are the biggest fans of this. If they take them, then Fields is sitting there at 4. Now you can either get your quarterback of the future or you can trade back because there's a legit guy there. So,
but all of a sudden your position becomes so much more valuable because the Niners have a feeling about Mac Jones.
Yeah, and I understand that. And Mac Jones, and let's talk a little bit about him.
Yeah, let's do
Fields, Jones, and Lance. Which of them has the most leadership, talent, and experience from your local sports analyst? Appreciate that comment on YouTube. Let me bring up Mac Jones. Let's talk a little bit about him, about all these guys, really. For me, Mac Jones, he's not the physical specimen that a couple of these guys are. But I have said for 20 years now, the hardest position to scout is quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's the position that requires the least amount on physical tools that you can measure.
That's right.
The most on stuff you can't.
That's right.
I
it's
still
not really an athletic position. I mean, athleticism helps, but quarterbacking, there's a reason that the Super Bowl winner is 43.
Yeah, and I call it the enough factor. Yes, you have to have enough arm. You have to be big enough. You have to be fast enough.
Yeah.
But what else do you have? I mean, I've said this. I've used this joke. I'm old now, but forever. It's like I still can't believe Phillip Rivers is a quarterback. Watching him throw. If you were to go to a camp and watch him throw a ball, you'd be like, nope, scratch him off the list.
Yeah.
His mechanics are so bad.
Yeah.
The old timers will remember this guy, Bernie Kosar. How is Bernie Kosar going to be a Pro Bowl quarterback? These guys. So there's no one right way to play the positions. What I like about Mac Jones, we talk about leadership and experience. And Grant, I'll let you talk a little bit about experience with number of passes because I want to hit that too. But leadership, this is a guy that stuck it out at Alabama when he didn't have to. Nobody does that anymore. That's a good thing. And I've also said that people don't mind waiting in line for a chance to win a national championship the way Alabama typically does. But what I like about him is how he faces pressure. Oh, he's got the most talent on the field. He doesn't get touched. No, when he has a blitz in his face, he is
no problem.
Good. He is good. And that's what I like about Mac Jones. And you cannot coach that. You either have it or you don't.
Agree.
Mhm.
Here's what I think why Kyle likes Mac Jones, if he does. I think it comes back to people don't understand why the Niners don't like Jimmy Garoppolo. They think they're like unsatisfied by his skill set. That's not it. They liked his skill set when they traded for him. They love the way he throws a football. That's not the issue. They felt that he would be the mental part of his game would be more advanced because he'd been with the New England Patriots and Tom Brady, and they really feel like he's a slow, inefficient decision maker, and he gets locked on reads. And that's the issue with Jimmy Garoppolo. So when you watch Mac Jones physically, it's about the same as Jimmy Garoppolo, and people be like, "What? That's the improvement?" Well, the improvement is the fact that he's just so much better of a decision maker.
Yeah,
Ball comes out fast.
The it factor, you can't measure it. I use this with talking about heart. I said you can't measure it, but you can tell when someone's got one.
Mm-hmm.
And they call them intangibles, and you can't measure it. I mean, I scout a lot of different sports just because I watch this stuff, and I'm like, baseball's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball is hard because football is easy. I can pick out the D1 guys when I go to a high school game just by looking at who's getting off the bus.
Yeah.
In warm-ups, I can say, that's the D1 guy, that's a D1 guy, that's the D1 guy. And baseball's hard. Football's a bigger, faster, stronger game. But it's not like that. I've seen guys that can throw a ball through a wall but can't play quarterback. It's different. So getting back to, who do I like? I like Mac Jones. I didn't necessarily want him as a top 5 guy. And for the Falcons sitting there at 4, I didn't want them to take him at 4. I wanted them to talk him up at 4 because I want the Falcons to trade down. Honestly, I want them to pick up. If I had been offered the deal, and I'm the Terry Fontenot, the new GM, and I'd been offered the 49ers deal, I would have snatched your hand off. I would have snatched your freaking hand off to get 3 first-round picks and another one to move out of that 4 spot. Zach Wilson, what have you seen there? He's a guy that could be available at 3. What do you think there?
I like him. He had one good year at BYU. He's not as good with bodies around him as Mac Jones is, but he's really good at creating space for himself. His playing style reminds me of Kyler Murray. He's very quick. He's very elusive. He's got a stronger arm than you would expect, just like Kyler Murray. But he's not quite. He's Kyler Murray light. And I wonder his playing style. He likes to hold the ball and run around. He did it great against the teams that he played at BYU, but in the NFL, he's not big. I mean, he's a lot smaller than Justin Fields. What's his durability going to be like? That's really my only question. It seems like he's a terrific, terrific athlete.
And when I see guys like this, I go back to when different generations. Your first impressions stick with you. So when I see a gunslinger who has all the tools in the world, who's raw and can throw it through a wall like that, the first guy that comes to mind is Brett Favre for me.
Okay,
is somebody like that, because Brett's not huge, but Brett had a generational type of arm. John Elway, Brett Favre. When we're talking arm strength, those are the measures that we use, and I see that type of arm. I see those type of throws from Zach Wilson, and the hard part is not to just fall in love with that. What else? What else is there? He can throw a 99-mile-an-hour fastball, but can he throw it for a strike when it's 2-2 and bases loaded? So,
you can do a windmill dunk, but what's your field goal percentage? Stuff like that. Yeah.
So I really like Zach Wilson. Raymond says again, you don't have to give up 3 picks for that. And I agree. And we're talking about the it factor. Dre the Great says Mac Jones has it. Yes, he does. So that's what I like about Zach Wilson is the intangibles. Now let's go to another one that's a little off the board here. And I've heard that he could go top 5. And Trey Lance, to me, from a small school like that, with as limited experiences he has, limited big game experience, top 5 would scare the hell out of me. I don't know about you.
Are you kidding? I mean, I wouldn't do it. I mean, let's just think about Trey Lance. He's a mobile quarterback. Some people compare him to Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott will run, maybe take off 3-4 times a game. He'll run for 20 yards. Trey Lance runs about as much as he throws in college. He would have to play more like Lamar Jackson, and running would have to be a huge part of his game and the offense, 10 to 15 quarterback runs a game. So he could work out. Lamar Jackson worked out, but Lamar Jackson also was seasoned. He played a lot.
Well, and Lamar Jackson Lamar Jackson was the closest thing I've ever seen to Mike Vick.
Correct.
As far as the pure passing motion, the arm. He's smooth. Tim Tebow could run and throw,
True.
but he was more of a power runner, and he had a big, he had a slow pitch softball release and reverse.
Lance is a power runner too. He's got a little bit of a big windup, and again, it's just scary. He completed 200 passes in college, and that's going to be your top 5 pick. Scary. I mean, do you think the Falcons are going to take him?
I hope not. I hope not. Like I said, when I said at the beginning, I think the Falcons have to go and talk about had to talk Mac Jones and Trey Lance in order to build up their value in order to move back in the draft, because the Falcons have more holes in their team than Swiss cheese, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and they got no salary cap space, so they need draft capital. So they need to talk up again. I'll say it one more time because we got a lot of people that are coming in late. Is every team that has gone into the top 5 in the last 10 years, from 2012 to 2021, assuming the first 3 are quarterbacks, San Francisco takes quarterback, has taken a quarterback. Every single one. So if you want to trade down and you want to maximize that value, you have to convince somebody that the quarterback's for them.
So what you're saying is the Falcons are going to auction off the number 4 pick if Justin Fields is there, and it's going to be the best thing that's ever happened to them.
I think. What I've said all along is, and let me get the wrong banner up here. So we'll introduce Grant there again. What I've said all along, and let's move on. That's a good one. Is if Justin Fields is there at 4, that's who I would take.
Okay.
Period. Unless somebody comes and offers me 3 first-round picks for that, then you can't turn that down. Unless you get an offer, every pick is for sale. If you get an offer you can't refuse, then fine. But for me, Trevor Lawrence is gone. He's the only one that, to me, I've been saying this since January. So, the old saying is, if you're always honest, you don't have to remember what you said. I haven't changed my mind on this. The Justin Fields, when we talk about leadership and durability and toughness, when Skolsky about cut him in half in the championship, in the playoff game against Clemson, and he gets up and he throws one step, a 60-yard pass on a line for a touchdown, I'm like, I'm in. I'm all Justin Fields. And for me, when we talk about experience, Grant, because I know that was one of the things that you've hit on, he's got big game experience.
Certainly.
He's got whether he's performed up to the task, who has had great games against Alabama? He's not the only quarterback to struggle against Alabama in a big game, but he was magnificent against Clemson. I mean, magnificent. In the stage, that was a huge game for them. And, playing opposite Trevor Lawrence. And frankly, in this day and age, it's not quite the same, but these guys have had 5 stars by their name since they were 15 years old. They've played under pressure and they've played in big game experience. They know what it's like to be the man and to be targeted for the last 7 years of their careers, as opposed to someone like Zach Wilson, who came from relative obscurity, and Trey Lance, who's come from relative obscurity. They've never been the man. They've never been, Lawrence and Fields, they've been the man, and they've lived up to it. And they've lived up to it on the biggest stage. And to me, that's what's impressive. So if Fields is there, that's who I want the Falcons to take, because Matt Ryan's going to be 36 years old going into this season. You're going to have to replace him. And you don't want to have to replace him because it gets expensive, doesn't it, Kyle Shanahan?
Right. Yeah.
So that was my thought. So
you take Fields this year, let him sit a year, and then move on from Matt Ryan in 2022.
Maybe 2. When you've got him under contract, it's not. This isn't the NCAA. They can't transfer out.
True.
And sit a year, or hit the transfer portal. You've got him under contract that maybe even 2 years, but Matt Ryan's salary situation is prohibitive enough that it will be tough to move him in the next 2 years. But if you're the Falcons, in 2 years, you shouldn't be. The Falcons have an 8-8 roster minimum. They just do. I mean, they've got enough talent that they should be in the teens or later drafting. What's it cost, again, to move into the top 5 to take a quarterback? Too much.
But let me ask you, I mean, with the Saints potentially falling off, Carolina, Sam Darnold, I don't take them seriously. It's the Falcons and the Bucks. Don't you feel like if you added Kyle Pitts to Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, like you could make a run? Okay,
there's a good one. We'll talk, Kyle Pitts. Could you add Kyle Pitts? Here's what scares me.
Okay.
Falcons had the worst defense in the league last year. Okay. And they just lost both starting safeties. So they don't have a starting safety on the roster at all. They haven't had a pass rush in several years. So the only position, they've got 3 positions out of 11, 4 positions out of 11 on defense I feel good about.
Oof.
4. Grady Jarrett, 2 linebackers, and a second-year corner. That's it. That's it. So you're talking about Julio Jones, who is coming off of a bit of an injury. You're talking about an offensive line that couldn't push anybody around in a running game.
That lost Alex Mack.
You're talking about lost Alex Mack. You're talking about a 36-year-old quarterback. And you couldn't outscore anybody the last couple of years anyway, despite the fact that you've got the 5th-ranked passing game. I mean, unless you're going to put Kyle Pitts' hand in the dirt and let him play both ways and tell him to go get some quarterbacks, which might not be a bad idea.
Good athlete. Maybe he can do it.
An athlete, a third down pass rush specialist, then he's not going to help you. He's just not.
Sounds to me like the move is to trade down.
It's absolutely to trade down. But I tell you what, Grant, you're talking about the sure thing, Kyle Pitts. There's a couple guys in that top level that if my team took them, I wouldn't be too upset with. We talked all this offense and defense. Penei Sewell, left tackle, premium position.
Yeah.
He's a number 1 guy in a lot of drafts.
Yes. Good point. Good point. It's a good way to look at him, right?
And then, I mentioned 2 linebackers, so it's not necessarily a position of need, but Micah Parsons is a 245-pound destroyer who runs 4.38. You put him next to Deion Jones, and you've got 2 playmaking linebackers on either side of the field, either side of the ball, boundary, corner, whatever you want to call it. And when you've got that kind of speed, you're dealing with something. So, and if they took Kyle Pitts, I'd be excited to watch him play. So it's not like, ugh, it's not somebody that you would say, why did they take him? You know why they took him. He's phenomenal.
Good player, yeah.
Yeah. So this is an exciting year to be in the top 10, but you can trade down. You can trade down and pick up a couple. You can pick up an exciting player and another big need in this draft.
They should have been the ones on the phone with the 49ers getting those 3 first-round picks, my goodness. Because it sounds like the Niners were just calling teams like, will you trade with us? No. Okay, we'll go up higher. Will you trade with us? We just want Mac Jones.
Yeah. Did you hear any rumors about that, Grant? About
No.
them talking with them talking with the Falcons?
No, they moved in silence on this one. They did. There was some reports afterward that they called on other teams in the top 10 and got rebuffed. But I don't know if the Falcons were one of them.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're like I said, if you're offering anything close to that package, it wouldn't have taken for me if I'm Terry Fontenot, the new GM, it wouldn't have taken you the 3rd number 1,
right? Just to
move back. If you had said, it was 12, right?
Yes,
it was 12. Okay, so let's get to that one too in a moment. We got a few more minutes.
Sure.
Like as soon as I make this point, if you're at 12, who would you have taken? Where were the needs then to fill for the 49ers? But if you would offer me a 12, a second rounder this year and a first rounder next year, I would have moved back from 4 to 12. I would have. That would have been good value.
Yeah, and what you're saying is the Niners likely could have gotten Mac Jones at 4. Oh, good God. Hey, he better win a Super Bowl, man.
4.
There's a lot of pressure on this kid.
I think they could have gotten Mac Jones at 10.
12, 10, yeah.
I mean, the thing is, and here's the thing, is it only takes one. And, I was on the Mile High Huddle podcast with Chad Jensen yesterday, and I said I lost a steak dinner with a good friend of mine because I bet him that Tim Tebow would not go in the first round. And I was wrong, technically.
You were right, though. He shouldn't have went the first round.
He was never a first-round grade, ever. But it only takes one guy. It only takes one guy you don't have to convince the whole team. You just have to convince one.
The funny thing is when the Niners made this trade, it was such a weird number 3. A lot of people locally were like, well, they must know who the Falcons want. They're jumping in front of the Falcons and they're taking the Falcons guy. No, the Falcons are like, oh, You're jumping in front of us to take Mac Jones? This is the best thing that's ever happened. This doesn't
No.
happen. When does this happen? Yes.
I've been saying, I can go back and I can send links on allfalcons.com where we start talking about look for the Falcons to start gassing up Mac Jones and Trey Lance, because someone is going. I could go back to a different video. I said, unless the Dolphins do something stupid like take a receiver at 3, then the top 3 quarterbacks are going to be off the board. And to me, the top 3 guys are Wilson, Lawrence, and Fields, and that wasn't even in question to me. So they're going to have to start talking.
The Dolphins could need a quarterback, looked at the options, and said, "No, we're good." And then the Niners came through with 3 firsts, and the Dolphins were like, "You got to be kidding me."
Well, and here's the thing, Grant. A lot of people are saying that that's just a smoke screen. That's just a smoke screen. The 49ers it's just a smoke screen that they're talking up Mac Jones. Smoke screen for who? What do the 49ers have to gain about talking up Mac Jones? That's, if you can explain that to me, I'll listen. I'll listen with an open mind, and I think
the theory is, and I don't get it. I think the theory is, and I don't buy into it, but the theory is that if the Niners were to just be honest and say how much they like Justin Fields, that the Jets are impressionable. And the Jets might change their mind. I have no idea.
Okay.
Doesn't make any sense.
I can see that. Or maybe we can talk him up enough that the Jets will take him.
Yeah.
I mean, that
would be amazing.
Like the smoke screen should be coming out of Atlanta.
Yes.
It should be coming out of Atlanta because they're the ones that have the most to gain with a Mac Jones elevation. Because now you've got 4, maybe 5 quarterbacks that are there, just like Kyle Pitts. Those guys talking him up so much just made that pick more valuable because now there's another elite talent.
Right.
But what do the 49ers have to gain by bluffing on Mac Jones? I don't get it.
Nothing. The other thing that people say around here is the Niners haven't said anything. It's just people speculating, and you put a lot of weight into it if it's Adam Schefter, because it's Adam Schefter.
And the first guy I saw that said something about it was Chris Sims, and it started making the rounds about, look at what this idiot has said again. Well, a lot of us are going to owe Chris Sims an apology.
Yeah. Chris Sims and Kyle Shanahan have each other's initials tattooed on. I mean, they're very close. Adam Schefter wrote Mike Shanahan's book. These guys are very close to the Shanahans. I don't know why it's in the Shanahan's interest to leak this. Maybe they understand it's going to be a very unpopular pick, and they kind of want to prepare fans emotionally for it.
Yeah, and that's part of the PR job is, if we can get more guys, and that's what having, an analysts are for.
Right.
It's what when I was running a recruiting team, I'm like, do not listen to the coaches. They have their own agenda. Well, so and so wants him at running back. No, they don't. No, they don't. They're going to put him at safety. They just want you to say that, so it'll get back to him, and they can go recruit this other running back.
Yeah.
So there is the PR involved. It's not quite as much with the pro game, but yeah, I understand that a little bit. But and like you're saying, they're not saying it, but it's getting out. It's getting out. Adam Schefter, basically, he funnels it, but he's a mouthpiece. So when he tweeted out there that the Falcons are open for business, we all knew that.
Right.
We all knew that. It's obvious. This team has a ton of holes and no money. Yeah, they'll trade back.
It seems like someone whispered to Schefter, right?
Yeah,
it seems like someone whispered to him.
It's not even that. It's like now it's almost like now, Adam, go ahead and put this out there. We're ready. We're ready for this to be out there officially. Yeah. Let's get it cranked up from you, because he's him and Rappaport are probably the two biggest voices in this section. So and Raymond says here, talking about, what do they have to gain by talking? The Jets should take whoever they want. They got the number 2 pick. Who do they care what the 49ers take?
And again, like
them at all. So that doesn't make total sense to me as far as the smoke screen on Mac Jones from the 49ers. They don't have anything to gain for that to leak out and take someone else. That doesn't make any sense.
And the only way they can leak this and not betray their sources is if out of nowhere the Jets suddenly take Justin Fields and no one saw it coming. And then, Zach Wilson's available. We can take him. Adam, we didn't mean to lead you astray. We wouldn't do that to you. We just never saw this coming, when maybe, I always go back. This trade happened like an hour after the Niners went to the BYU Pro Day. Robert Saleh was there too. People talk. All you got to say is, Robert, is Zach Wilson your guy? Kyle, no. I'm not going to tell you who we're taking, but the answer is no. Well, boom, there you go. And then no one knows. But
we'll see. And my thought process almost went the other way, whereas, okay, now we know they're taking Zach Wilson.
Yep.
So, we know. Yeah. The timing on that was not coincidental. It couldn't have been. It couldn't have been. So, but for me, thankfully or not, this draft has been more fun than any draft I can remember for a long time because there's legitimate talent. 1 to 10. We named about seven or eight guys. We can go farther than that. We haven't talked really about Jamar Chase. That's who the Miami Dolphins really want. They were talking about taking him at 3.
Wow.
And then we talked Kyle Pitts, Jalen Waddle, another wide receiver, Devonta Smith, Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver.
Yeah.
If you need a corner, there's 2 of them there, and Patrick Surtain. I might as well just read off the Alabama roster now.
J.C. Horn.
There's a reason why
Farley.
there's Caleb Farley.
Yeah.
Slater, another offensive tackle. What this draft desperately needs, and why the Falcons want to move out of 4 is a defensive end.
It's not there.
It's not there.
It's not there.
But that's why I said if we move down as the Atlanta Falcons, and you say, okay, we're going to move down to 12, and I get Kwity Paye for the defensive end from Michigan, and maybe I pick up another linebacker or a couple number 2s, and pick up my safeties in the second round because they need 2. They need at least 2. Then this will be a good draft. This will be a real good draft. And I know the Atlanta Falcons.
It sounds like you're looking for as many picks in the top. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
It sounds like you're looking for as many picks in the top 100 and as many rookie starters as possible. Got to move around a little bit, but yeah.
What's scary is you could have 2 safeties, a corner, and a second-year corner. So across the 4 positions, you could have 5 years of experience.
That's the way to do it too. When the Niners won their first Super Bowl, it was with 3 rookies in the secondary. You can get by with youth in the second. You want speed out there, and
I bet they have somebody putting pressure on the quarterback, because the other line I use all the time is the best defensive backfield in the world is a quarterback on his ass.
That's right. You need both. You need both, and that's what the Bucs had.
Yeah. So if you can put pressure on the quarterback, those corners start looking real good.
Yes, they make a lot of money. Yes,
they start looking real good. So I think it's a terrific year to be in the top 10. And I've said that for a while, and not just to hype it up, but it is. There's really intriguing players there. And when you've got the premium position of quarterbacks and people willing to trade up and do it, I mean, what the 49ers did was boom. Are you really? Holy cow. I mean, that was earth-shaking, really. I mean, what they did to go up to the 3 spot.
Absolutely. And the way I look at it is, those picks were earmarked for Deshaun Watson. You can justify trading 3 firsts for Watson. It might even take more than that. And then once that story went the way it did, I think the Niners took that same trade package and started offering it to other teams it's just amazing that they would, risk it on a player that they haven't seen in the NFL yet. You can do that with Watson. He's elite.
Yeah, when you start talking about what is a 25-year-old Pro Bowler quarterback worth for the next 15 years, would you give up your next 3 first-rounders? Yeah, I would.
That's the starting point right there. That's basically the starting price. Yeah.
Yes, I would. And so I think that makes sense. But again, that's a proven commodity. At least they've gotten the salary structure. Remember in the days when the highest paid player in the NFL was the first quarterback taken in the draft?
Jamarcus Russell, Matthew Stafford. Every year.
That was outrageous. I think that finally got fixed right around Matt Ryan, 08, 09, right in that area.
That's right.
So, y'all, we've got we've gone a little bit over. I don't want to hold Grant too long. If you've got a couple questions, we can stick around for just a bit. But other than that, Grant, I thank you for coming on, and I think it's very interesting that you think it's Mac Jones, because as a Falcons fan, I've said all along, if Fields drops to 4, Terry Fontenot is going to sound like an auctioneer. When he's talking about, do I take Fields or do I trade back? He's going to sound like an auctioneer. Part of that problem is Carolina isn't going to move up anymore. Philly probably won't move up anymore. So I don't think there's as many teams out there that are willing to bet high on a quarterback.
No, and I don't think Washington wants to try another Ohio State quarterback. Maybe Denver.
This is different though. Denver. Yep, that's somebody we're talking a little bit. Denver with Drew Lock is somebody. Detroit isn't all in on
Good point.
Was it? It's not Wentz. Is it Wentz? Carson Wentz?
It's Goff.
Jared Goff. Okay.
Yeah, so they're right in striking distance. That's a good point.
Yep, they're not because I think they're on the hook for just 1 year. I think of his salary, and that's it.
Yeah.
So there's still some there, but I was thinking Carolina at 6, Philly at 8. And then, those have kind of gone away. So the market might have softened a little bit, but you never know. Like we said, it only takes one.
Maybe I think the NFL just is a little incredulous. Like Adam Schefter says it, but I think the rest of the league's like, there's no way. There is no way the Niners are really going to take Mac Jones. I'll believe it when I hear it. I think there might be some of that going along. So if it happens, the Falcons will be in the best position ever. It's like you started off feeling like, oh, we're just right outside the action. This sucks. No. You're going to be in the middle of the action. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun. And what a fun time to be a general manager. What a fun time. It's stressful. Shoot, I don't sleep putting together my 11U baseball team. I can't imagine. I mean, I've been accused of being obsessive. I'm like, you have no idea.
If you only knew the half.
Yeah, I can't sleep when I'm trying to come up with my lines for my 11-year-olds. So doing this would be I'd sleep about as much as John Green. But Grant, plug Grant real quick. Make sure you hit him up at all49ers.com. You can find all his content from his YouTube stuff, from his work and writing that he does, all of his videos at Grant Cohn on Twitter. Grant, thanks for stopping by. We had a lot of fun tonight.
Scott, thanks so much for having me. This was a fantastic show. It was fun to talk Niners and Falcons too.
Yeah, 3 weeks. It used to be. I grew up with this as twice a year. I used to watch Cherry Rice, Montana, Young, and all those guys. Whip my Falcons twice a year. So
it's a tradition.
Yeah, it was. It was biannual. All right. Appreciate it. We'll do this again soon.
I'd love to. We'll talk soon.
So thanks, guys, for coming in. We had a nice group today. Lots of chats and comments, which just makes it better. Follow up, hit that subscribe button. That's a big help to guys like me and Grant. So make sure you hit that subscribe button on either if you're watching this on Facebook or if you're watching it on YouTube. And follow up with questions. I just mentioned obsessive. I'm obsessive compulsive about responding to my community. So if you put a question in any of these players, I've got about 70 Senior Bowl videos on my channel. So if you have anybody that you want to talk about that's on the Senior Bowl, Mac Jones, he's on there too. Put a question in there. I'll see it and I will come in and answer. We will do this again starting next week. We'll take tomorrow off and we'll be back on Monday. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you get your alerts so you know what we're talking to. We're talking NFL draft all around the NFL with the local guys. That's important to me, is to go to the source, to go to Grant Cohn to talk San Francisco 49ers, to go to Chad Jensen to talk Denver Broncos. Next week, I'm going to try and get Mike Fisher, Dallas Cowboys, and it's probably about time to talk to my friend Kyle down in New Orleans, to talk New Orleans Saints again. So thanks for watching, and we will talk to you again soon.